Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes Lauren Michel's performance of Ain't It a Pretty Night so awesome. Heads up, this is not the first time I've watched this video. I've actually watched a lot of other times before. It's one of my favorite opera arias that I wanted to share with you. We haven't done opera in a long time on this channel, so thought I would do some here and share with you this gorgeous moment. Oh, before I forget, just to remind you that this aria is from Susanna by Carlisle Floyd. It's a really great opera. It's kind of a downer, but got gorgeous music and is really moving, really great American opera that if you haven't watched is worth watching the actual show itself. So let's give it a go. Here we go.
Just think those stars can all peep down and see way beyond where we can.
Okay, a little background here. So in this point of the story, you have to think that this is a mountain country girl who lives out in the woods in the Appalachian Mountains, and that she is looking out after this party that she just had, and life is great. She's here with her little friend, Little Bat, and they were just having a good time playing around, recalling the dancing that they just did with the whole community. Little did she know that off to the side were these ladies who were talking about how basically jealous they were that their husbands were paying attention to her and that she's just trouble. But in this moment, it's just glorious. Imagine that she's looking up into this beautiful, open, starry night sky. And that's what this song is about, is this girl, this beautiful night sky, and her dreams of what the future might hold. This is really a crucial part of the whole story because it sets up the fall. So we see the tragedy, right? What could be the hope, the happiness, the beauty, the innocence, and what a wonderful thing youth is and youth's dreams are, and then how societies can destroy that by their own vices, I guess we'll say. So let's see what else is going on here and what she does. You'll notice here that her eyes are taking in that sky. She's in a concert. She's not in the opera itself, but she's still singing as if she is. She's still imagining this imaginary world playing out around her. That's really important. What a lot of singers think is that they get into a concert and they just have to stand there stiff and formal. No, don't do it. The audience doesn't want to see you stiff and formal. They want to see you as a real person in an imaginary moment. Lauren Michel does an awesome job here.
They can see way beyond the mountains to Nashville and Nashville and Knoxville. I wonder what it's like out there beyond the mountains, where the folks talk nice and the folks dress nice, like you see in the mail order catalogs.
So you'll notice here, if you pay attention to her mouth shape, that if we're talking pop, we talk about this place a lot, right? It's kind of like we have this flat box in the back of our mouth. It's 80% of a yawn. So how is that different than here? What's really interesting here is you're actually still seeing a box, but it's a lot taller and wider. It's just still 80% of a yawn, maybe even a little bit bigger at sometimes, especially here in the back, but really open. What's giving us this unique operatic sound is this height as well as the width and back. That width is helping us keep that sound forward, keep that kind of balance forward, buzziness that we're hearing in that voice so it doesn't sound swallowed. That tallness is giving us warmth and richness. So she's using both here together. You'll notice she's also being very articulate with her mouth. and very specific about how she's shaping each word. She wants us to understand each word, and so she's treating them with that kind of deliberate attention. That's something else that is going to make it sound like opera or music theater, is that very deliberate attention to trying to deliver that text. Pop rock, sometimes we can be a little sloppier. We have a mic in there and we can do a lot to kind of bump up the words and make them more intelligible and whatnot. But in this case, she's trying to deliver this to a huge audience without any mics and still be heard and understood. So she has to be really deliberate with how she's shaping each word, and she's doing that. You'll also notice that she's still doing what we talk about in any other style of singers who are being successful and making beautiful sounds day after day after day, and that she's keeping that airflow consistent. It's a little bit of air traveling really fast and really consistently. You'll notice the amount of control that she has in that breath flow. She's singing super long phrases. They're really gorgeous. You'll notice there's not tension, or excess tension, I should say, in her face, her arms, her body. That tension that's in there is reserved for communicating and expressing the emotions of the character, the thoughts and the intentions of the character. So all really, really awesome examples of what's going on here. You'll notice she places the sound a little bit different depending on where she's singing and the color she's wanting. She also shapes her mouth a little bit different to give us different colors and emotions in that song. And they give us a lot of nuance, and it makes it really interesting to listen to. Because the rest of her technique is super consistent, like the breath flow, that open space, that release jaw, that chiaro scuro that we're hearing, which is that kind of bright sound with the warmth behind it. Chiaroscuro meaning light and dark at the same time. It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous singing and really compelling to watch as well. Love it.
I aim to leave this valley someday and find out for myself, to see all the tall buildings and all the street lights, and to be one of them folks.
Notice that tall space she had in there on myself. That is not how we deal with it if it's a pop song. We want to sing myself. Here is more myself, is more position, really open, really tall in the back. Still kept that forward buzz in it so it didn't get swallowed and heavy. And you can imagine what kind of ab work is going on there. Really suspended, really vibrant, energized, gorgeous. The other thing I want to point out here is you'll notice that her body is starting to show us what we're about to hear. She doesn't wait for the new music to start and the new thought to start to have her body start showing us what is going on. She's following natural behavior patterns, which is that as a thought is ending, our body is already thinking about and starting to show what we're going to say next. And that goes for if she's going to be singing or if there's just music following. Either way, it's tied to what her character is thinking and feeling and trying to do. And she's doing a gorgeous job of that. See her eyes thinking, her face thinking. She's not neutral, she's not disengaged. Gorgeous.
I wonder if I'd get lonesome for the valley though, for the sound of crickets and the smell of pollen straw, for soft little rabbits and blooming things, and the mountains turning gold in the fall.
Now, I'll be honest. I usually force myself to only talk about what's awesome. But it's opera. I'm an opera director. And I just want to point out here real quick, because I think it's really important, that if there was something that I think could make this even better, is that she would let her hands talk in a more natural, organic way. Right now, her hands are either by her side or they're kind of doing this slow motion, Tai Chi kind of movement. Just not my favorite. It doesn't feel authentic, or organic, or natural. And I don't think it suits the music in arias very well. I think it actually makes it feel false, disengaged, and untrue to what the intent of the music and the words are really going for. But this is a stylistic choice. You'll see this from a lot of different opera singers. But again, not my favorite. And I want to point that out because I think if you were to see this with more organic gestures, you would be even more convinced. What she's doing with her body, other than her hands, her posture, her face, her mouth, her eyes, and her voice, everything else she's doing is so organic and natural and gorgeous and lovely and true and authentic to the character and the music and the moment that her hands just kind of stand out for me and stick out. So I think she's just following tradition here of what she thinks is expected in this moment, because in opera, one of the things you have to consider is what does the audience expect to see? And you have to ride this balance between expectation and authenticity and genuineness, depending on where you are and what you're doing and what's expected, especially if you're doing a competition and you're being judged by people who have preconceptions. So I don't mean to judge her in this moment, but instead use this as a tool to try to show you something that even these excellent professionals who are out there competing at the top levels, that there's still room for improvement and to be even more convincing and moving to us, the audience. But again, it's gorgeous still. Even with that, take that out, it's still just an absolutely stunning, gorgeous performance. Upper two smile, see it?
So I'll leave it someday and see for myself. Someday I'll leave and then I'll come back when I'm
Still upper two smile. You know she comes down. We still a little bit of smile, still little teeth. Imagine if you were to go back and watch that section from before this moment where we stopped last time to this time. If she didn't show those teeth, she didn't smile at all. What would your emotional reaction be as an audience versus watching that smile and upper two smile happen? It's much more engaging. It lights up the room when we see that. It also is really helpful in keeping that sound forward, keeping these muscles up here lifted and open, and making it so that sound doesn't get swallowed and trapped in back. It's just helpful. The other thing I want to point out here is how she kept the energy going past this phrase. She stopped singing and the intensity of the music is still going. So she's keeping that gaze and that energy all the way through that musical moment. It's so gorgeous. See how she showed us what we were about to hear before that phrase? She started to smile. There was no freeze, no pause.
so heavy with stars tonight that it might fall right down out of heaven and cover us all and cover us all.
Okay, two things. One, you'll notice she plays a lot to that second balcony, meaning her eyes are up above the horizon level the majority of the time. Really smart, really important. It'll engage the audience. The temptation for a lot of performers, especially when they're thinking and having an internal moment, is to go down. You have to counteract that and keep it up. The other thing you'll notice here is how gorgeous her pianissimos are, right? They're gorgeous. One way she's able to accomplish those, and there's a lot of things going on here that make them so gorgeous and make it work for her. But one of the things that you can do today is really, you have to imagine that you're sliding in between all these notes. She is sliding between a lot of these notes. It's stylistically appropriate and kind of accepted. It's kind of tradition in this part of the song. But Even still, even if you don't want to hear the slide, practice sliding all the way through them. That's going to help your voice feel this feeling of stretch in between them rather than disconnect and reconnect on each new note, which is going to make it sound choppy, pushed, forced, and not going to work well for you. That's going to allow you to keep this little bit of air traveling super fast, even though we're putting less vocal resistance behind it, less vocal tension, and so the sound is less, right? And you say, wait, what are you talking about? More resistance, less resistance? What's going on here? Remember that in general, what we're talking about a balance between vocal resistance, meaning the amount your vocal folds are pressing together, and airflow coming through. There has to be some kind of pressure of these vocal folds coming together to give us sound, have them vibrate, right? The more pressure it is, the louder the sound's going to get, given that the airflow is balanced and staying behind it. What happens when we start saying compressed, force, push is when it gets out of balance. Imagine that it's this ball, right? Where just the force side of the balance gets to be too much. It's going to sound compressed or forced. There's not enough air. It starts building below, and finally it pressurizes and forces them over, and then it closes again. And we get this forced kind of pressurized sound. The opposite is also true. If we over amplify the aspirate or the airflow, it's going to start sounding breathy, right? And so if we want a clean, really balanced sound, they have to be in balance. The smaller the vocal compression and airflow, if they're in balance, it's going to get a quieter sound. The bigger, as long as they're in balance, it's still going to sound clean and clear and easy. It's still going to be efficient use of the voice, but you have to have both going in balance, tandem together. So hopefully that helps you kind of start understanding how we're still getting this really gorgeous, clean, chiaroscuro, milky, buttery sound that we're hearing here in her singing, even though she's going from really loud dynamics to really soft, which is just so thrilling to hear, so exciting, so beautiful. I also love her face work. What she's doing with her eyes and her face is just so compelling, so gorgeous and authentic and beautiful. There are clearly specific things that she's thinking about and visualizing, even though she's in a ball gown in this concert, this formal competition kind of arena. We can believe that she's in the Appalachian Mountains looking up this sky with her friend here out in the middle of the woods by her house where she lives with her brother all alone. It's just gorgeous. So hope you check it out. Hope you check out the whole opera. It's gorgeous and worth the watch. Really moving, and one of the top performed American operas of all time. So check it out. If you want a voice lesson, a performance coaching, or want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartstudio.com. You can also send me short 5-minute video clips or ask me specific questions that you want me to respond to just to you on wizio.com. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time.